The planet was quiet. Too quiet, some of the alien scholars thought. Its surface shimmered under the twin suns, a soft silver glow spreading across jagged rocks and endless plains of pale sand. The winds whispered, carrying hints of minerals and something older, something almost alive. Deep in the middle of this barren land there sat a box. It was small, yet impossible to ignore. Its surface seemed to move, subtly folding and unfolding in ways no alien engineer could explain. Some called it a relic, others called it a mystery that should not be touched. Lyra, one of the youngest scholars among the expedition, approached it carefully. Her long fingers hovered over the smooth surface without touching it. She could feel the energy radiating, a soft pulse that made the hairs on her arms stand up. Many in the team had tried to interact with it. Machines, probes, and even the most advanced alien tools had failed. Some reported a faint vibration when they touched it. Others said they felt a whisper in their minds, a suggestion they could not understand. But no one had ever opened it, not even once. Lyra was fascinated, but she was also cautious. Her species valued rules and careful study. Curiosity was permitted, but only within boundaries. Still, the box called to her, not in words but in the strange way it seemed to react to her presence. When she leaned closer, it pulsed slightly faster, almost like it was breathing. "It's alive," she whispered to herself, unsure if she was speaking the truth or just imagining it. The other scholars were watching from a distance. Some shook their heads, muttering about interference with dangerous relics. Others, older and wiser, were simply curious. The team had camped near the box for weeks. They had measured its energy, recorded its reactions, and tried every form of technology their species had developed over centuries. Yet the box remained closed, quiet in its secrecy. Lyra remembered the first day they had discovered it. The sands had shifted in unnatural patterns, and the box had appeared as if from nowhere. Some said it had fallen from the sky. Others believed it had always been there, waiting for someone capable of opening it. None of them had guessed that the someone might be human. For days, Lyra examined it from all angles. She noted the strange lines across its surface, which seemed to shift depending on the angle of the sunlight. They weren't markings in the traditional sense. They were patterns, living shapes that moved and changed. Every time she thought she had memorized them, they shifted again. Her mind, trained to analyze patterns logically, struggled to keep up. She scribbled notes furiously, trying to describe what she saw in words that made sense to her species. But even her words felt inadequate. Her colleagues debated theories constantly. Some said it was a communication device from an ancient civilization, built to test those who found it. Others believed it was a container of knowledge too dangerous to reveal. Lyra didn't know what to think. She only knew that the box seemed to know her. It responded when she approached. It pulsed when she held her hand near it. It vibrated faintly when she spoke. And yet, no matter how much she tried, it did not open. One evening, under the pale glow of the twin moons, the team gathered to discuss their findings. The air was cool and the wind carried the faint hum of the box's energy. Lyra stood near it, staring at the intricate lines that danced across its surface. "It's waiting," she said softly, mostly to herself. Her colleague, an older scholar named Varus, frowned. "Waiting for what?" he asked. His voice was rough from years of study and command, not used to admitting uncertainty. "I don't know," she replied honestly, "but it's alive. I can feel it. It's aware of us. Maybe it's waiting for the right one." Varus shook his head. "We've all tried. No one here is the right one. Perhaps it will never open." Lyra looked back at the box, her thoughts turning over possibilities she could not voice aloud. Perhaps the box was a test, not of knowledge, but of perception. Perhaps it needed someone who did not overthink, someone who could interact with it naturally. Her heart quickened at the idea, but she dismissed it as foolishness. No human had come here yet. Humans were rare in this sector, traveling mostly in distant trade routes. The box had probably been waiting a very long time. The next morning, while the team prepared for another day of study, a small ship descended from the sky. It was sleek, simple, and unmistakably human in design. The aliens froze as the ship landed with a soft hum, the ground barely disturbed beneath it. The hatch opened and a human stepped out. He wore a practical uniform, not flashy or scientific but functional. His eyes scanned the landscape calmly, then rested on the box. Lyra felt a strange pull in her chest. There was something different about him. He did not approach with caution or fear. He did not bring machines or tools. He walked directly toward the box, hands relaxed at his sides, and examined it with quiet curiosity. "Hello," he said simply, as if greeting a friend rather than a mysterious artifact. The other scholars whispered among themselves. "Is he dangerous?" one asked. "I don't think so," Varus replied, though even he was uncertain. The human's presence seemed calm, almost reassuring, yet there was an energy about him, a confidence that was unlike any of them. Lyra stepped closer, her eyes wide. The box pulsed more quickly now, almost as if it recognized the human's presence. She held her breath. He reached out slowly, letting his fingers brush the surface without pressing or forcing it. The box responded instantly. Its lines shifted, folding and unfolding like liquid metal. A soft hum resonated from inside. The human tilted his head, studying it as though he were reading a book. "Interesting," he murmured. His voice carried no fear, only curiosity and wonder. He ran his fingers along the edges, feeling every contour, every groove. The box seemed to pulse in response, as if alive and aware of the attention. Lyra could hardly believe what she was seeing. No alien, no machine had ever caused this reaction. Only this human. Hours passed, though it felt like minutes. The human explored the box carefully, methodically, without rushing. Occasionally, he would pause and smile, as though he understood something the others did not. The aliens tried to follow his actions, copying his movements, but the box ignored them completely. Its energy focused entirely on him. Finally, with a soft click that echoed like a whisper across the plains, the box opened. A gentle light spilled from inside, illuminating the human's face and reflecting in the wide eyes of the aliens. The box was empty of objects, yet filled with something far greater, knowledge, energy, and potential that none of them had imagined. The human stepped back, looking around at the stunned faces. "You can see it too, right?" he asked. His tone was gentle, almost patient. The aliens stared in awe. None could speak, for the words they knew did not match what they were feeling. The box was no longer a mystery to him. It had chosen and it had opened. Lyra felt a shiver run through her. This human, he was not like them. He did not think like them. He did not see the universe as a problem to solve, but as a puzzle to explore. And somehow, simply by being himself, he had unlocked what had resisted the galaxy's greatest minds. Varus finally found his voice. "How?" he asked, almost as a whisper. The human shrugged lightly, his expression calm. "I just looked," he said simply. "I didn't overthink it." Lyra understood immediately. The box had not needed force. It had not needed complex tools. It had needed insight, intuition, and a willingness to interact naturally. Something alien minds could not provide. Humans could. As the light from the box bathed the plains in a soft glow, Lyra realized something profound. The galaxy had underestimated humanity. They had dismissed humans as fragile, inexperienced, and naive. But here, in this quiet corner of the stars, a human had achieved what centuries of study had failed to do. The implications were staggering, thrilling, and terrifying all at once. The wind continued to whisper, carrying hints of knowledge waiting to be shared. The twin suns began to rise, bathing the landscape in warmth. The human closed the box gently, leaving it partially open, a promise rather than a secret. Lyra knew that this moment would change everything. Humanity had arrived, not with armies but with something far more powerful. The ability to see, understand, and unlock the universe in ways the galaxy had never imagined. And somewhere deep inside her, Lyra felt a spark of excitement. For the first time, she wondered what humans might do next. The human, Elias, did not hurry. He had unlocked the box, yes, but he understood that rushing now could ruin the moment. The light inside shifted softly, almost as if it were breathing, responding to him but not entirely revealing its secrets. The alien scholars crowded around, their eyes wide with awe, unsure whether to approach or retreat. Lyra remained closest, curiosity sparking in every movement, while Varus hovered at the edge, uneasy and tense. Elias crouched slightly, letting his fingers brush over the edges of the box's interior. It was not cold nor warm, but alive in a strange way. Shapes moved under the surface, patterns forming and dissolving like a language waiting to be understood. He spoke softly, almost to himself. "Hello, can you show me?" The sound of his voice seemed to cause the patterns to shimmer more brightly. Lyra gasped quietly. She had been trained to analyze, to interpret, to measure. She had seen the box open, yes, but this was new. The box was responding, not mechanically, not as a reaction to touch, but to thought. Elia's thoughts, feelings, and simple curiosity were influencing it. He was not forcing the box, he was inviting it to interact. Varus shifted uneasily. "It's just a machine," he muttered, though even he could feel the hum in the air. "There is no mind here, it's energy or some kind of code." Elias shook his head, smiling faintly. "It's more than that," he said. "It's alive, I can feel it." The aliens stared at him, some with disbelief, others with fear. None of them had ever considered that an object could respond to human intuition. All their machines, all their logic had failed. Yet this human, with nothing but patience and attention, had succeeded. He extended a finger, lightly tracing the shapes that moved beneath the surface. A ripple ran through the box, like water spreading across still ground. Images flickered briefly, stars, ancient cities, strange creatures, but they were fleeting, impossible for the alien mind to interpret. Only Elias paused to absorb them, letting his mind open and flow with what the box offered. Lyra watched in awe. She wanted to step closer, to examine what he was doing, but she sensed that the box would not respond to her in the same way. She could see it in the subtle way the light pulsed for him but barely flickered for her. She realized with a start that humans had something unique, a way of seeing the world that was not limited by logic or hierarchy. Their minds were open to patterns and intuition in a way her species had lost. Elias leaned back slightly, letting the box breathe. The pattern slowed, pulsing gently as though waiting. Then, with a flick of his hand, he caused the interior to shift again. A new shape appeared, a map, not of stars as they knew them, but of possibilities. Civilizations that had risen and fallen, technologies that had been lost, planets untouched by anyone. The aliens pressed closer, trying to understand, but it was too fast, too abstract. Only Elias could follow the flow. "You see," he asked, turning to Lyra. "It's showing more than the present. It's showing the choices we can make, the things we could learn if we try." Lyra felt her mind stretch as she tried to follow. She could recognize patterns, yes, but not like this. Her species analyzed and solved, categorized and controlled. Humans, she realized, did not need to control. They simply experienced and connected. And in that connection, they understood things that seemed impossible. Varus cleared his throat, uneasy. "Are you saying this thing can teach? It's alive, yes, but can it be trusted?" Elias shook his head. "I don't know if it's trust or not, it's communication. I'm not taking from it, I'm listening, that's all. And it's willing to speak if you know how to hear." The aliens exchanged worried glances. They had been trained to be cautious, to anticipate danger. Their instinct was to fear the unknown, but Elias was not afraid. That lack of fear seemed to matter to the box more than anything else. Every movement, every glance, every thought he sent was part of a dialogue, not a challenge. Hours passed. Elias explored, experimented, asked questions aloud even if no one could answer him. He leaned closer, letting his hands hover over the edges without touching. He spoke in soft tones, describing what he saw in patterns, and the box responded. It was subtle, a change in rhythm or color, a flicker of the internal shapes, but the response was unmistakable. It acknowledged him, almost as if it understood not just his actions but his intent. Lyra moved closer, unable to resist. What are you seeing?" she asked, trying to contain her excitement. Elias smiled gently. "I see possibilities, things lost to time, places no one has explored, the things we could become if we reach out instead of controlling everything." The scholars were silent. Some were mesmerized, others were alarmed. The idea that a single human could access knowledge and understanding that centuries of alien science had failed to achieve was unsettling. It challenged everything they believed about intelligence, about progress, about themselves. Elias continued to explore the box. Occasionally, he would pause and look at the sky, listening to the distant winds, noticing subtle patterns in the light. He treated the box as a partner, not a puzzle. And in doing so, he began to see more than the aliens could. He saw civilizations in decay, the rise of new technologies, the collapse of old stars, all connected by unseen threads. He could sense the choices, the paths taken and not taken, as if the universe were offering lessons. Lyra could hardly believe it. Her mind was struggling to record and understand what was happening. She tried to describe the movements, the pulses, the shifting images, but words fell short. She realized with both awe and fear that humans did not need words in the same way. They saw meaning directly, felt it intuitively. Elias was reading the universe through the box, and in doing so, he was teaching her something she could never have learned alone. Varus finally stepped closer, reluctantly. I don't understand," he said. "How can one human, one individual perceive all of this?" Elias looked at him with calm eyes. "You're trying to think like the box," he said. "That won't work. You have to think like yourself. Let it respond to you, don't force it to answer. That's all it ever wanted." For the first time, Varus paused. He could feel it too, the pulse, the energy, the subtle acknowledgement, but he could not follow the patterns. His mind was trained for logic and order. Elias, however, seemed to dance with it. He flowed with the patterns instead of trying to control them. And that, Lyra realized, was the difference. That was why the human had succeeded where centuries of alien study had failed. The twin suns began to set, painting the horizon with shades of orange and gold. The box's interior glowed softly, illuminating Elias' calm, focused face. He leaned back, letting the energy wash over him one last time for the day. The patterns shifted gently and then settled, almost as if resting. Lyra approached him cautiously. Can it teach us too?" she asked, hope and fear mingled in her voice. Elias shook his head slightly. "It can't teach the way you think. You can watch, observe, and maybe learn something, but it responds differently to different minds. It needs understanding, not force. Patience, curiosity, and openness, that's the key." Varus frowned, still skeptical, but even he could feel the undeniable shift in the air. Something had changed. The galaxy, for all its advanced technology and knowledge, had underestimated humans. They had dismissed them as inexperienced, fragile, or unprepared. And yet here, on a small planet under twin suns, a human had proven that intuition, creativity, and patience could unlock what countless generations of study had not. Lyra lingered near Elias as he gently closed the box for the night, leaving it partially open. The glow dimmed, but it did not vanish. It waited, silent and patient. Elias looked at her, a small smile on his lips. "Tomorrow we can explore more," he said. "There's so much to see. But for now, let it rest." She nodded, feeling a thrill she could not describe. The day had changed everything, not because of weapons or power, but because of understanding, because of seeing, feeling, and connecting. Humanity had arrived in the galaxy not as conquerors or scholars, but as explorers who could interact with life and knowledge in ways that no one else could. And as night fell over the pale sands, Lyra understood the first real lesson of all. It was not just the box that had been waiting, it was the universe itself. And humans, she realized, had the rare ability to listen when the universe spoke. The morning light spread slowly over the pale sands of the planet, brushing the box with a gentle golden glow. Elias had returned, carrying nothing but his quiet presence and the endless curiosity that seemed to flow naturally from him. The alien scholars were waiting, some with hesitation, others with cautious excitement. Lyra had barely slept, her mind racing with images and patterns from the previous day. She had watched Elias unlock the impossible, and now, with the dawn, she wondered what he would do next. Elias crouched near the box, running his fingers lightly over its surface. He did not rush. He never rushed. He let the box respond to him, let it breathe, let it speak in its own subtle language. The aliens watched in silence, fascinated and baffled. Varus muttered under his breath, "I still don't understand how it works." "There is no logic here, only intuition." Lyra smiled slightly. That word felt right. Intuition. Humans saw patterns without needing to explain them, felt connections without needing proof. Elias' mind flowed with the box, and in doing so, he revealed more of its secrets than the scholars could have imagined. He spoke softly, not to the aliens but to the box. "Show me again. I want to understand more." The light inside shifted, flowing like water, forming shapes and paths that had never appeared before. This time, Elias did not simply observe. He reached into the images, imagining possibilities and letting the box respond. Stars rotated in new patterns, cities appeared and vanished, and strange creatures moved across the holographic landscapes like dancers in an invisible ballet. Lyra tried to take notes, but the movements were too fast, too fluid for any language she knew. She could only watch, feeling her mind stretch, attempting to grasp what she saw. Elias' hands hovered above the box, tracing invisible lines, following shapes that no alien eyes could fully perceive. The box pulsed in recognition, almost as if it were alive, almost as if it were learning from him even as he learned from it. One of the scholars, a younger one named Talais, stepped forward. "Can we participate?" he asked, voice hesitant. "Can we learn from it too?" Elias looked at him gently. "You can try," he said, "but it will respond differently to each of you. You have to be patient. You have to listen, not force it." Talais approached cautiously, hand outstretched. As he touched the box, nothing happened at first. He frowned, glancing at Elias for guidance. I don't feel anything," he admitted. Elias smiled, shaking his head. "That's okay. You're trying too hard. Step back. Observe. Let it respond on its own terms." Talais hesitated, then did as Elias said. Slowly the box's surface began to shimmer, faint lines moving subtly, responding not to touch but to presence. Elias nodded, encouraging him to watch. "See, patience, curiosity, that's how it speaks." Meanwhile, Lyra noticed something else. The box was revealing more than just patterns and images. It was offering understanding, knowledge that could not be learned from books or machines. Elias' mind connected with it in ways that were almost invisible, almost magical. He saw connections between stars and civilizations, between ancient technologies and lost knowledge, and he began to map them in his mind. He did not need to write it down, he could feel it. The box trusted him, and in that trust it revealed wonders. Hours passed as Elias explored, and the aliens began to understand that their human companion was changing their perception of possibility. The galaxy they knew was vast, yes, but full of limits imposed by their own species, ways of thinking. Humans had no such limits. They saw the universe not as a problem to solve but as a story to follow, a puzzle to understand, a conversation to join. Lyra found herself leaning closer, her fear of failure replaced by excitement. "What is it showing you now?" she asked quietly. Elias tilted his head, eyes reflecting the soft glow of the box. "It's showing how everything is connected," he said simply. "Every civilization, every star, every choice, connected by threads we cannot see at first. It's like a web of possibilities, and humans were part of it. We can reach across it, learn, and even guide it gently if we try." Varus frowned. "Guide it? Are you saying humans are different, superior?" Elias shook his head. "Not superior, just different. We see things in ways you don't. We notice things you miss. We think in patterns and connections instead of rules and categories. That's all it takes to open doors others cannot." The box pulsed again, brighter this time, revealing a set of symbols, intricate and complex, shifting too fast for the alien mind to comprehend fully. Elias reached into the light, tracing them with his fingers and speaking softly. "These are instructions, not for machines but for minds. You have to think, feel, and connect. That's how you understand." Lyra tried to follow, reaching toward the light, but it reacted only faintly to her presence. She realized with awe that the box was selective. It responded to those who could interact with it naturally, without fear or overthinking. Humans were rare in the galaxy, and it seemed they were rare for a reason. Their minds were uniquely suited for understanding this kind of living knowledge. Talai stepped back, eyes wide. "It's incredible. I don't think I can comprehend it fully." "You don't need to fully comprehend," Elias said. "Just observe, feel the connections. That's enough for now." The aliens continued to watch as the human worked, slowly realizing something that would change everything they thought about intelligence. It was not strength, nor speed, nor logic that mattered. It was perception, intuition, and openness. A human could approach a mystery and invite it to reveal itself, rather than trying to force it to obey. Lyra felt a thrill of excitement. For centuries, her species had relied on machines, on technology, on calculations. And yet, here was a human with no tools, no advanced devices, unlocking knowledge that they could only dream of. She realized that humanity's strength was not in what they built, but in how they thought, in how they connected, in how they perceived the universe without fear. The sun climbed higher, casting long shadows across the sand. Elias paused, letting the patterns settle for a moment. The box hummed softly, almost as if it were satisfied with the progress. He looked around at the scholars, smiling gently. "It's not done," he said. "There's more to learn, more to see, but we have to approach it carefully. It responds to patience, not force. To curiosity, not command." Varus stepped closer, still skeptical but beginning to understand. "I see now," he said slowly. "You are different. You approach knowledge not as a problem to be solved, but as something to interact with. That's remarkable." Elias shrugged, a faint smile on his face. "We just notice what's there. That's all humans do. We look, we listen, and we try to connect." Lyra felt her mind expanding as she watched him. She realized that the human approach was not about taking control, not about dominating knowledge. It was about partnership, between mind and universe, between curiosity and possibility. That was the lesson the box was teaching, and Elias was the one showing it to them. The light inside the box began to pulse more rhythmically, almost like a heartbeat. Shapes swirled and danced, forming maps, pathways, and connections too vast to comprehend. Elias moved with them, tracing the patterns with calm, steady hands. He spoke softly, guiding them, interpreting without dominating. The aliens watched, realizing that the universe was more alive than they had imagined, and that humans were uniquely able to converse with it. Lyra took a deep breath. "This changes everything," she whispered. Elias nodded, his eyes reflecting the light. "It does, but it's not about power or control, it's about understanding. Once you see how everything connects, you can make choices that matter. That's what humans do, that's what we can offer." The scholars exchanged glances. Fear, doubt, and awe mixed in their expressions. They had been certain they were the smartest beings in the galaxy, relying on logic and calculation. And now, One human had opened doors they had not even realized existed. It was both thrilling and unsettling. As the day wore on, Elias continued to explore, showing the box that he was not a threat, only a learner. And in response, the box revealed more of itself, paths, knowledge, and understanding that had never been shared with any being before. The aliens began to see the truth. Humans did not dominate the universe by force. They did it through insight, intuition, and the willingness to connect in ways others could not. By evening, the patterns had settled, leaving a soft glow that bathed the plains in gentle light. Elias leaned back, hands resting on the sand. "We've seen a lot today," he said quietly. "But tomorrow there's more. The universe is patient and so is the box. We can learn, explore, and grow. That's the gift it gives us." Lyra nodded, her heart racing with excitement. She understood now that humanity's place in the galaxy was not measured by technology or strength, but by perception, courage, and curiosity. They had unlocked more than a box. They had unlocked a way to interact with the universe itself. And as night fell, the twin moons rising over the horizon, she knew that the story was only beginning. Humans had arrived not as conquerors or scholars, but as beings capable of understanding and connecting in ways the galaxy had never imagined. And in that realization, the first true awe of humanity had begun to spread. The next morning, the planet seemed almost alive, shimmering under the twin suns as if it too had recognized the human among the aliens. Elias returned to the box, carrying with him a calm confidence and quiet curiosity that seemed to radiate outward, touching everything around him. The alien scholars gathered once again, some lingering in the shadows, still hesitant, while others drew closer, eager to witness what had already become extraordinary. Lyra was among the closest, her eyes wide with anticipation. She had learned more in 2 days than she had in decades of study, simply by watching Elias interact with the box. She had felt the pull of the patterns, the soft whispers of the light, the subtle ways the box responded to his attention. She had begun to understand that the box was not a tool, not a machine, but a living archive of knowledge, a partner rather than an object. And humans, she realized, were the only ones capable of unlocking that partnership. Elias crouched, his fingers hovering lightly over the box. The patterns shifted immediately, recognizing him, responding to his presence. Light spiraled from within, forming intricate shapes and flowing lines that stretched and curved across the interior. He traced them with his hands, speaking softly, guiding the shapes without commanding them. The aliens watched in awe, some whispering quietly to each other. They could feel the energy, the rhythm, but they could not comprehend it. Only Elias could. "Today," Elias said softly, "we explore connections that no one has seen before. The box has waited for this. It knows we are ready to understand more." Lyra leaned closer, almost afraid to breathe. The patterns were alive, but they moved with meaning, flowing in ways that suggested intelligence and awareness. Elias did not just observe, he communicated. The box responded to his curiosity and patience, revealing knowledge that seemed impossible to convey in words. Varus stepped forward, trying to mask his unease with careful words. "You speak as if it can understand you," he said, "but it is a relic, a repository. It is not conscious." Elias shook his head, a faint smile playing on his lips. "It is more than that," he said. "It responds to understanding, not force. Intelligence comes in many forms. You measure knowledge in data and tools. The box measures understanding, and understanding is not the same as calculation." The aliens exchanged uneasy glances. They had long prided themselves on logic, on precision, on the ability to solve any problem given enough time and resources. And yet here was a human, showing them that some mysteries were solved not by calculation, but by perception, by insight, by openness of mind. Elias extended his hand and lightly traced a shape that appeared like a glowing lattice, lines intersecting and twisting in impossible configurations. Instantly, images began to appear. A network of civilizations, some flourishing, some collapsed, others still forming in the shadows of distant galaxies. He did not explain. He simply observed, tracing the paths and seeing the hidden connections between stars, planets, and cultures. The box pulsed with recognition, responding to his focus, and the shapes shifted subtly in gratitude, as if inviting him deeper into its secrets. Lyra noticed something unsettling in a thrilling way. The box was showing them not only the present but possibilities. It revealed paths that civilizations could take, outcomes that depended on choice and action. And Elias, with his human mind, seemed able to follow those paths naturally, intuitively, seeing consequences without needing to calculate them. He was not predicting, he was perceiving. One of the younger scholars, Talais, approached hesitantly, still afraid to disturb the delicate balance. Can it guide us too?" he asked. Elias looked at him gently. "It can, but only if you let it. You have to stop trying to control. You have to observe, connect, and listen. It responds to understanding, not command." Talais reached forward, and the box's light pulsed faintly in recognition. It was not as strong as with Elias, but there was a connection. Lyra realized that the box chose how deeply it responded, and it had chosen Elias most fully. Humans were rare for a reason. They had the ability to connect, perceive, and understand in ways that the aliens could not. Hours passed. The patterns inside the box became more complex, revealing hidden histories of civilizations, knowledge lost for millennia, and glimpses of technologies and societies that had disappeared before anyone could record them. Elias traced the connections, his hands moving with quiet confidence, speaking softly to the shapes, interpreting the flow. He did not dominate, he did not force, he invited, and in that invitation the box revealed more than it ever had before. Lyra could hardly contain her excitement. How do you see all of this?" she asked, voice trembling. Elias smiled, still focused on the shapes inside. "I don't see it all at once," he said. "I follow the flow, I notice connections, and I let them guide me." The box responds when it knows you are not trying to control it. Curiosity, patience, openness, that's all it needs. That's how humans can understand. Varus frowned, still skeptical. "So, humans are unique, exceptional, but what does that mean for the rest of us?" Elias finally looked at him. "It means we each have strengths," he said simply. "Some strengths are obvious. Others are hidden until you try to connect in a different way. Humans happen to have this one. But the universe has many mysteries, and everyone can contribute if they are willing to learn differently." Lyra's mind raced. She began to understand that humanity's arrival in this sector of the galaxy was not about conquest or domination. It was about perception. It was about approaching mysteries not as problems to solve, but as partners to understand. Humans had opened the box. They had shown the aliens that understanding could be achieved through intuition and connection, not force and control. The box pulsed again, brighter this time, revealing a vast network of glowing threads, connecting stars, planets, and civilizations. Elias' hands moved along the threads as if he were tracing paths in the air, and each movement seemed to draw the aliens' attention, even if they could not perceive the threads fully. They could feel the energy, sense the connections, but they could not follow the paths the human mind did so naturally. "Look at this," Elias said softly, pointing to a cluster of glowing threads connecting distant worlds. "These civilizations, they are linked. They can help each other, guide each other if they understand the connections. The box shows possibilities, not instructions. The rest depends on how we think and act." Lyra realized something profound. The box was not just a repository of knowledge, it was a teacher. And it had chosen Elias as its student, its partner. It trusted him, and in that trust it revealed lessons that would have been impossible for others to grasp. Humanity, she understood now, was capable of interacting with the universe in ways that her species could only dream of. As the sun climbed higher, Elias paused to rest, leaning back and letting the box settle. The light softened, glowing gently across the sand. The aliens exchanged glances. Fear, wonder, and respect mixed in their expressions. They had thought humans were fragile, inexperienced, or naive. Now they saw differently. Humans did not need brute strength, advanced technology, or endless study to unlock mysteries. They needed curiosity, intuition, and the willingness to connect. Lyra stepped closer, her mind racing with questions and possibilities. "What will happen if we share this knowledge?" she asked. Elias smiled, looking around at the scholars. "The knowledge is here," he said. "But understanding is different. It is not enough to see. You must connect, perceive, and learn. Humans have shown the way. Others can follow if they are willing." Varus nodded slowly, beginning to grasp the truth. "This changes everything. The galaxy, our understanding, everything we believed about intelligence." "Yes," Elias said softly, "it does, but it is not about being superior. It is about being open, noticing connections, and choosing to learn. That's what humans do. That's what we offer." The box pulsed one last time for the day, a gentle rhythm like a heartbeat. The patterns inside shifted and settled, leaving a soft glow that filled the plains. Elias stood, brushing sand from his clothes, calm and composed. He had guided the box, shown the aliens the power of perception, and revealed a way of understanding that had been hidden for centuries. Lyra watched him, her heart racing with excitement and wonder. She knew the galaxy would never be the same. Humans had arrived not as conquerors, not as scholars, but as beings capable of understanding and connecting in ways no one else could. And as night fell, painting the twin moons across the horizon, she understood the first true awe of humanity, the realization that the universe could be seen, felt, and understood differently, and that humans had the key. The planet's sands shimmered under the early light of the twin suns, the soft glow reflecting off the box that had become the center of so much attention. Today was different. The alien scholars had gathered in larger numbers, drawn by rumors of what the human had already achieved. Word had spread quickly. One human had opened the impossible. One human had interacted with knowledge thought unreachable. Curiosity, awe, and even a touch of fear filled the air. Lyra stood near the box, her heart racing. She had followed Elias' actions, witnessed the patterns, the pulses, the way he moved, and listened to the box. But today she knew something larger was about to happen. Elias had already proven that humans could perceive in ways aliens could not. Now it was time for the box to reveal more, if it chose to, and if humans could guide it further. Elias crouched near the box, hands hovering lightly over the surface. The lines inside shimmered immediately, reacting to his presence. He did not rush. He never rushed. He let the box lead, let it breathe, let it speak. The aliens watched, some hesitantly, others unable to look away, drawn by the pulse of energy and the soft hum that seemed to vibrate through the sands themselves. "Today," Elias said softly, "we explore the possibilities, the connections we can make. The universe is ready to show us more, but we have to approach it with respect, curiosity, and patience." Lyra felt a thrill of anticipation. She knew that the box had knowledge far beyond anything they had seen so far. It was not merely a repository. It was a living archive of civilizations, a teacher, a partner. And humans, she realized, had the ability to unlock lessons that others could only glimpse. The light inside the box swirled, forming intricate maps of stars, planets, and civilizations. Some of the civilizations had long since vanished, leaving only echoes of their existence. Others were thriving, yet isolated, their potential unknown. Elias traced the connections with his fingers, guiding them gently, speaking softly as if the shapes could hear his words. The box responded immediately, pulsing brighter with each careful movement, revealing more of its secrets. One of the scholars, Taelais, stepped forward cautiously. "How do you understand all of this?" he asked. I see the threads, I feel the energy, but it's too complex. Elias looked at him with calm eyes. You're trying to see everything at once, he said. That's not how it works. You follow the connections you can notice. You let the box show what it wants you to see. You don't force it. You invite it. That's how understanding grows. Lyra watched as Tail Eyes followed his advice, stepping back and observing rather than touching. The box pulsed faintly in response to him, acknowledging his effort. It was not as strong as the connection with Elias, but it was there. The aliens began to realize that the box was selective. It responded not only to presence but to mindset. Humans had the natural ability to perceive, intuit, and connect in ways that allowed the box to reveal itself fully. Hours passed as Elias explored the box, guiding the shapes, tracing connections, and speaking softly. Patterns shifted, civilizations appeared and faded, and new possibilities emerged. The aliens watched silently, some in awe, others in disbelief. The galaxy they had known, with all its knowledge, all its precision, all its advanced technology, seemed smaller in comparison to what this one human could perceive. Lyra felt her mind stretching to keep up, but she understood something essential. This was not about intelligence measured by computation or memory. It was about perception, intuition, and connection. Humans could perceive the universe in ways that other species could not, and in doing so, they could unlock mysteries that had been hidden for eons. Varus stepped forward, voice trembling slightly. This changes everything, he said. Humans are not just visitors, they are different, exceptional. How do we compete with that? Elias shook his head, smiling softly. It's not competition, he said. It's understanding. We don't dominate knowledge. We interact with it. You can do the same if you are willing to see differently. The box teaches, but it requires openness, curiosity, and patience. That's the human way, yes, but it's also a universal way. Anyone who can listen can learn. Lyra nodded slowly, understanding dawning on her. The box had chosen humans not because they were stronger or smarter, but because their minds were willing to perceive, to notice, to connect. That was why Elias had succeeded where centuries of alien study had failed. The galaxy's greatest minds had focused on control, on logic, on rules. Elias focused on understanding. That was all it took. The box pulsed brighter, and this time it projected images of distant galaxies, civilizations barely touched by light years of communication. Elias traced them carefully, showing the scholars how knowledge and understanding could flow across space. Connections formed where none had existed before. Worlds could help each other, share discoveries, and grow together. The universe, it seemed, was ready for collaboration. Lyra felt her chest tighten. She understood now that humans were not just capable of perceiving hidden knowledge, they were capable of inspiring it. They could interact with mysteries, guide possibilities, and reveal potentials that others could not even imagine. The HFY truth was clear. Humans did not conquer, they illuminated, they connected. They revealed possibilities and the universe responded. Hours passed and Elias finally paused, letting the pattern settle. The light inside the box dimmed gently, no longer a storm of activity but a soft, steady glow. He looked around at the scholars, calm and composed. "This is only the beginning," he said quietly. "The box has shown us how we can perceive, how we can connect. There is more to learn, more to explore, more to understand. But the first lesson is done. Openness and curiosity are stronger than force or control. That is how humans interact with the universe." Lyra's heart swelled with excitement. She realized that the galaxy had underestimated humans for far too long. They had assumed humans were fragile, inexperienced, or limited. Yet here, under twin suns, one human had unlocked mysteries that others could not even approach. It was not technology, not weapons, not brute force. It was insight, intuition, and the willingness to understand rather than dominate. Varus nodded slowly, understanding dawning. "The galaxy will have to change its view," he said. Humans, they are not just capable. They are remarkable. Yes, Elias said softly, but that does not make them superior. It just means they perceive differently. That is enough to unlock what others cannot. And that is what the universe responds to: perception, curiosity, and understanding. The sun began to set, casting long shadows across the sands. The box's light glowed softly, a reminder of the mysteries it held and the lessons it had shared. Elias stood, brushing sand from his clothes, calm and composed. He had guided the box, revealed its lessons, and shown the aliens the power of perception. The galaxy would never be the same. Lyra approached him, her eyes wide with excitement. "What now?" she asked. Elias smiled gently. "Now we continue. There is always more to explore, more to understand. But the important thing is this: humans have shown that understanding comes from openness and curiosity, not control. That is the lesson the galaxy must learn." Tail Eyes nodded slowly, finally beginning to grasp the meaning. "We can follow your way?" he asked. "Yes," Elias said softly. "If you are willing to notice, to perceive, to connect, you can follow. It is not about force. It is about understanding. That is how humans interact with the universe. That is how we learn, how we grow, and how we reveal what has been hidden." The alien scholars looked at each other, awe and respect mingling with a new determination. For centuries, they had relied on logic, machines, and control. Now they understood a different path. They had witnessed what humans could do, and they were beginning to realize that intelligence was more than calculation. It was perception, insight, and the courage to connect with what could not be forced. Lyra glanced at Elias and the box, understanding fully now. Humans had not just opened the box. They had opened a door to understanding, perception, and connection that had been waiting for someone willing to see differently. The HFY truth was clear: humans did not conquer. They illuminated. They connected. They revealed possibilities, and the universe responded. As night fell, the twin moons rising over the horizon, the soft glow of the box illuminated the plains. Elias looked at the sky, calm and focused, aware that this was only the beginning. The galaxy would never underestimate humans again. Their way of perceiving, their intuition, their curiosity, all these things were a force in themselves, subtle, powerful, and transformative. Lyra knew, deep in her heart, that humanity's story in the galaxy was only beginning. The box had been opened, the lessons shared, and the path revealed. Humans had arrived, not as conquerors, not as invaders, but as beings capable of understanding, connecting, and inspiring the universe itself. And that realization would echo across the stars for generations to come. The planet was quiet again, but the energy lingered in the air, soft and alive. Elias stood beside the box, calm and patient, ready for whatever mysteries the universe would reveal next. And somewhere, deep in the pulse of light and the subtle rhythms of the box, the galaxy itself seemed to acknowledge a new truth. Humans had come, humans had observed, and humans had opened doors no one else could.